You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pilled News. Well, guys, we've got lots of interesting stories to go over today. First of all, right now as we speak, Inspector General Michael Horowitz is testifying before the House Oversight Committee in Congress. Also, in really good news, notorious Democratic booster Ed Buck in Los Angeles has been arrested and charged, yet again victimizing young men and putting them in life-threatening situations. In not-so-good news, another one of Kevin Spacey's accusers has wound up mysteriously dying. I don't know how that keeps happening, but Kevin Spacey keeps lucking out. 11/11, make a wish. Then, in some really strange news, the U.S. Navy has confirmed the existence of extraterrestrial vehicles, or rather, the existence of photographs of extraterrestrial vehicles, things that never should have seen the light of day. They're a little upset about it. And then finally, we've got a couple of interesting ones from the Gateway Pundit. So we'll go over this and even more in just a moment when we get back from a quick word from my sponsor. Over the last 30 days, Capital One, the Central Bank of Europe, and the great state of Texas have all been hacked in major data breaches. This is starting to get really out of control, guys. Who's going to be next? One of the best things you can do to help protect yourself online is to invest in a VPN, a virtual private network. This allows you to create a secure connection to another network over the internet. VPNs can be used to shield your browsing activity from prying eyes, whether you're on a public Wi-Fi connection, in a foreign country, or just at home. Here, let me show you how easy this is to do. You just go to www.virtualshield.com, download the free 30-day trial, install it, and click Connect. This month, Virtual Shield is offering their anniversary special of 30% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons, including Protection Plus, residential access, and VIP performance plans for as low as a cup of coffee. Sign up for a free 30-day trial to try Virtual Shield VPN and see what the hype is about. You've got nothing to lose. All right, so first of all, we have a link here to the Horowitz testimony ongoing, and that was posted by Tracy Bean, so shout out Tracy, thanks for putting that out there. She noted here that there are more reasons for McCabe's criminal referral. Horowitz just said, I will stick to what's public. So for everybody who's freaking out about people being indicted or not being indicted, this is something I want you to remember. Just because we don't know about it doesn't mean that it's not taking place. There are non-public things that McCabe has been criminally referred for. So I tend to think that we just need to sit back and relax, and this will sort itself out. Now, someone else on her feed here, my subjective opinion, subjective op with the Westie as the avatar, love those dogs, says they posted a video clip here of Horowitz speaking. So let's go ahead and listen to what Horowitz had to say, because I think it's very revealing, more information that we have not had publicly yet.
The department would, and
that's pretty monumental. Do you know of any FBI director who in the past has ever had a criminal prosecution?
I wouldn't know as I sit here today.
Or any other head of any federal agency?
I do actually, so
okay.
but I'll keep that.
All right, and the same type of referral applied to McCabe as well.
Right. The IG Act requires me to expeditiously report to the Attorney General when I see evidence that could be considered criminal.
Okay. What he said right there, he does know of another head of an agency that has been criminally referred, but we don't know about that ourselves. So who could he be talking about? Perhaps James Clapper at the DNI, perhaps John Brennan at the Clowns in America. Who do you guys think it is? I think it could be either one of those people, because they were both involved in this Spygate scandal. But, as I stated earlier, it hasn't been made public yet, so we just need to sit back, relax, and trust that this is going to get sorted out. All of these things will be revealed. Remember, we've got over 100,000 sealed indictments. They have to lead somewhere. Now, in a bit of coverage regarding the testimony of Michael Horowitz today, I just wanted to point out that my good friend and fellow researcher Methods made the Gateway Pundit. They used his tweet to put it in there. Early bird gets the worm. You can see he put that out at 8:09 a.m. Good job, buddy. Gotta love it. Let's go ahead and listen to the video clip talking with Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows.
How are you going to cut through the ceremonial portion of the hearing and get to maybe some substantive answers, Jim? Well, we're going to ask him about the report that we should have had a hearing on, frankly, but Mr. Nadler and Mr. Cummings haven't scheduled it. We'll ask him about the report he released 3 weeks ago. Specifically, I want to ask him a little bit about what took place at the Trump Tower meeting when it was President-elect Trump, because we always assumed they went up there to brief the president on the dossier so they could then leak that information and the press would print the dossier, which we know was complete garbage. But we also learned from Mr. Horowitz's report, they went up to that meeting trying to set up the president, trying to trap the president, because immediately after that meeting, Jim Comey goes out, gets in his secure car on his secure laptop and starts typing notes. And Mr. Horowitz points out on page 17 and 18 of his report that they were looking to get information about their pending investigation, about the Trump-Russia investigation. All the while, Jim Comey is telling the president, you're not under investigation. So that is so wrong. I want to make sure we get into that a little bit today and a host of other questions as well.
And Brian, let me follow up on that because Jim hits a critical point. What we now have is when Jim and I were in there actually during congressional testimony asking Jim Comey questions, he gave conflicting answers with what the Inspector General has reported. So now what we've done is we've gone over his testimony and the Inspector General's report, and we find major inconsistencies. So today, hopefully, some of that will come out. Now, that's not what the hearing's about because the Democrats wouldn't call him in, Michael Horowitz, to go over this scathing report, but we'll take that opportunity early and often to make sure the truth gets out to the American people.
All right, great job, Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows, a couple of honest gentlemen in Congress doing the hard work. I'm sure that we're going to have some excellent clips of these guys asking Horowitz questions, and I will be looking for those in the next segment. All right, now, Ed Buck has been charged with running a drug den in his West Hollywood apartment. Prominent Democratic donor and LGBTQ plus political activist Ed Buck was charged Tuesday with running a drug den out of his West Hollywood apartment and providing methamphetamine to a 37-year-old man who suffered an overdose last week. Now, Buck, who is 65, was charged with one felony count each of battery causing serious injury, administering methamphetamine, and maintaining a drug house. According to the DA's office, Buck was accused with injecting the victim with methamphetamine at the defendant's apartment in the 1200 block of Laurel Avenue in West Hollywood. Luckily, the man survived. Now, remember, the charges come after two other men died of overdoses at Buck's since 2017, prompting community outrage and calls for his arrest. I remain deeply concerned for the safety of people whose life circumstances make them more vulnerable to criminal predators, Los Angeles County District Attorney Jackie Lacey said in a statement. With this new evidence, I authorize the filing of criminal charges against Ed Buck. Prosecutors recommended bail will be set at $4 million in a motion that called Buck a violent, dangerous sexual predator, who mainly preys on men made vulnerable by addiction and homelessness. The motion went on to say that Buck used the bait of narcotics, money, and shelter to lure victims to his home, where, in a position of power, Buck manipulates his victims into participating in his sexual fetishes. According to the motion, Buck's actions led to the death of two men in his apartment, Jamel Moore and Timothy Dean. Moore died in Buck's home in July of 2017, and the coroner's office said drug paraphernalia was found at the scene and ruled the death an accidental methamphetamine overdose. Then, on January 7th of 2019, a second man, 55-year-old Timothy Dean of West Hollywood, was also found dead at Buck's home. His death was also ruled an accidental meth overdose. The defendant's predatory acts and conscious disregard for human life must be stopped, the motion said. He's scheduled to be arraigned today, Wednesday, and Buck's attorney said he'd fight the charges against his client vigorously. An attorney who said he talked with family members of Moore and Dean said the family members were relieved and grateful that Buck was behind bars. It's unfortunate it's taken a third overdose for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to finally act, Hussein Turk, the attorney for Moore's family, said. We believe that the third overdose could have been avoided. We believe that the death of Timothy Dean could also have been avoided had they taken the death of Jamel Moore seriously. If convicted as charged, Buck would face a possible maximum sentence of 5 years and 8 months in state prison. Buck remained in jail on Tuesday night, and the case is still under investigation by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Now, I tend to think that the reason they are finally charging him is because this third individual did not die. He was able to tell the story of probably how he was tied down, forcibly injected, and that Ed Buck was trying to do this on purpose to get him to either overdose or specifically die. But because of the pattern of behavior that Ed Buck has been involved in, I think that this would continue if they were not to charge him. And I think that third time's a charm. This is a bad look for the LA County District Attorney and for the Sheriff's Office because they chose not to do anything in the past, probably because of who Buck was, the people he's connected to, and the money that he pumps into the Democratic Party. And in news we could have also foreseen, Kevin Spacey's assault accuser has been found dead. Now, the case was hobbled after Spacey's accuser invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and refused to testify about text messages that the defense claim were deleted. The massage therapist who sued Kevin Spacey for assault has died, according to court records. Lawyers for Spacey filed a notice of statement noting plaintiff death in the federal case on Tuesday. They said they were informed on the 11th that the masseur had recently passed. No further information or details have been given to Mr. Fowler's counsel, but plaintiff's counsel stated they intended to notify the court with additional information at an appropriate time in the future, the filing said. And Kevin Fowler is Spacey's real name. The massage therapist who filed his suit as an anonymous Jane Doe had claimed he was attacked by the American Beauty actor 2 years ago during a session of massage in Malibu. Now, Spacey, 60, allegedly twice grabbed the masseur's hand and guided it to his private parts. The Oscar winner was also accused of grabbing the elected victim's shoulders in an attempt to kiss him and trying to fondle his nether regions. Spacey also allegedly asked if he could perform a particular act on the massage therapist, causing him to bolt out of the session. The lawsuit could be continued by the therapist's estate in the wake of his death, which was first reported by The Hollywood Reporter. Lawyers for the man didn't immediately return calls, and Spacey has been accused by more than a dozen men of sexual conduct. In July, sexual assault charges in Massachusetts involving an 18-year-old man were dropped. So Kevin Spacey keeps having charges dropped. He keeps getting away scot-free. He keeps having people die that have accused him. There was another person who was hit in a hit-and-run car accident. Come on, you got to be kidding me. I really think that Kevin Spacey is a lot like Ed Buck, except that he just doesn't overdose people. Allegations continue to dog him. He continues to be accused on numerous occasions. I wonder how many more times it's going to take for Kevin Spacey to allegedly commit these acts until a prosecutor is going to actually be able to take this case until its conclusion and prosecute him so that it stops happening. All right, now, as promised, the U.S. Navy has confirmed that leaked UFO videos are real and never should have been released to the public. 3 videos appearing to show encounters between the U.S. Navy's aircraft and UFOs are real, the service has admitted, while insisting the clips merely show so far unexplained aerial phenomena and were never cleared for public release. 3 widely circulated clips depicting military aircraft interacting with UFOs, mysterious objects performing maneuvers not possible using existing aviation technology, were never supposed to be released to the public, the Navy's Deputy Chief of Naval Operations for Information Warfare spokesman Joseph Gradisher told the Black Vault earlier this month, but the videos are genuine, and their contents can't be explained. The Navy designates the objects contained in these videos as unidentified aerial phenomena, Gradisher said, explaining that UAP is used instead of UFO as the basic descriptor for the sightings and observations of unauthorized, unidentified aircraft, objects that have been observed entering, operating in the airspace of various military-controlled training ranges. Translated into English, we don't know what they are, but there's no evidence they're alien in origin. One clip, it was called FLIR 1, shows a dark pill-shaped object hovering for several seconds before scooting sideways extremely fast. Another, entitled Go Fast, shows the observing aircraft sensor lock onto a fast-moving target as the pilots are heard in the background excitedly wondering what exactly they've stumbled across. And the third, Gimbal, shows an oblong object moving steadily before stopping and rotating as the pilots observing it exclaim in surprise. The videos were released to Louis Elizondo, a former military intelligence officer who claims to have directed the Pentagon's UFO research arm, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, in 2017 for use in a database about aerial threats. While declassified, they were not cleared for general public use. Since then, the videos have made their way to the New York Times and the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, a consortium of former intelligence officers, scientists, and celebrities promoting the investigation of UFOs and other scientific mysteries. I've also heard it's a bit of a limited hangout. The Pentagon complained, stating earlier this year that the videos should still be withheld as they were never officially released to the general public, but it's a little late to put that unidentified flying cat back in the bag. The Navy set up guidelines earlier this year for reporting unidentified aircraft entering U.S. airspace, ensuring no encounter would go undocumented in response to a plethora of reports, and lawmakers have reportedly requested briefings on the issue as the Pentagon's history of chasing UFOs under secretive programs like AATIP has become public knowledge. What do you guys think? Like it says in the story, these are unidentified aerial phenomena. We don't know what they are. Could they be extraterrestrial in origin? Maybe. Could they be extra-dimensional in origin? Maybe. Could they just be naturally occurring phenomena that we do not know about because we haven't identified them yet? Maybe. They could be all different kinds of things, but I'd like to know what you guys think they are. I also think that it's possible they could just be black budget aircraft that they haven't told their own pilots about. So maybe they are from the U.S. Army. Maybe they are from the Navy, the Space Force. That's what I'm hoping they are. I'm hoping that they are spacecraft air force that will now have to be disclosed to the public because we are going to space. The president started the Space Force. We're going to have some aircraft to go up into space with. Or I suppose they could also be aircraft coming from other countries like Russia, China, etc. But like I said, I want to know what you guys think. Tell me about it in the comment section below. All right, and next from Sarah Carter, it looks like President Trump has chosen his new national security advisor. His name is Robert O'Brien, and Sarah's got 5 quick facts for us. President Trump announced on Twitter on Wednesday Robert C. O'Brien will be his new national security advisor. He's the 4th NSA since Trump took office and is replacing John Bolton, who was fired from his position this month. The position does not require confirmation by Congress. Good stuff. Bolton and Trump were at major impasses on issues like Venezuela, Iran, and North Korea. Bolton noted in a tweet this month he had offered to resign before Trump fired him. It will be interesting to see how O'Brien works under Trump. He is not as well known as the previous NSAs, but he has a stellar history with the State Department and has a long list of qualifications. So number 1. O'Brien is the State Department's top hostage czar and negotiating official. He's well respected by his colleagues. 2, he recently worked on freeing rapper A$AP Rocky, who was being held in a Swedish jail after getting into a brawl in a bar. 3, moreover, O'Brien was one of 5 senior officials Trump was considering for the position of NSA, including Bolton's former chief of staff, Fred Fleitz, a retired clown official, Vice President Mike Pence's national security advisor, Keith Kellogg, and others. And 4, under his role at the State Department, O'Brien also coordinates with the Interagency Hostage Recovery Fusion Cell on the development and implementation of U.S. hostage recovery policy and strategy. And number 5, interestingly enough, O'Brien worked under the former NSA John Bolton in 2005. According to his biography on the State Department website, he was nominated that year by President George W. Bush and confirmed by the U.S. Senate to serve as a U.S. representative to the 60th session of the United Nations General Assembly, where he worked with Ambassador John Bolton. All right, so what does this mean? Well, it looks like we're just going to have to wait and see. Hopefully, because this is a pick by our president, that means that it's going to be a good one. But we do know that President Trump likes to choose people who are simply conveniently able to be used at certain times for certain things. So hopefully this guy is straight MAGA, and President Trump is not going to have the same issues that he had with him in terms of John Bolton and others before him. But as soon as we get more information, we will be going over it here on this program. All right, so as Edward Snowden is back in the news, giving interviews saying that he would like to not necessarily come home to a parade, but remember, parades are restraints. It's up to you, Ed. The U.S. government has filed a civil lawsuit against Edward Snowden because with the release of his book, that's the reason he's doing these interviews, he has broken his non-disclosure agreement. Now, I got a lot of comments from a lot of people saying that my characterization of Edward Snowden was incorrect. So I've asked my good friends White Hat and Methods here for a brief conversation to discuss why I feel the way that I do about Edward Snowden, and for these guys to give their opinions as well. Methods, obviously, as an excellent researcher, and White Hat not only for being an excellent researcher, but also for having the unique perspective of someone working in government with a security clearance. So special thanks to White Hat and Methods for agreeing to come here and give their perspective along with me. And we're going to listen to that, and we'll be right back to end the show as soon as that's over. All right, guys. I just want to first of all thank Methods and White Hat for joining me for this segment. Thanks again for being here, you guys. What we're going to be talking about briefly is the nature of Edward Snowden, let's say. With the segment that I did just a day or so ago, there was a lot of people who seemed to be upset with the way that I characterized him. I said that his actions were meant to discredit the NSA, and he did material harm to the intelligence gathering procedures that were used here in the United States. And I am making that claim based on certain Q posts, things that we've learned since the Great Awakening has begun. And I'll be the first to say that I thought Edward Snowden was a patriot. I thought he was a good thing originally, but I believe that through the revelations of many of these posts, we've learned that it was something completely different. So to begin, White Hat, I would like to ask your perspective of what Edward Snowden did based upon your position, someone holding a security clearance.
Well, I can say if I did what he did, obviously I would be in some serious trouble. But the thing is I took an oath. You want to serve your country, you want to protect citizens. You kind of get I don't know how to explain it. You just get all into it. I can't see myself taking tens of thousands of documents, mapping out basically how we surveil different countries and different entities around the world. I can't see how you can make you get yourself to just put that out there. And not only that, you have to remember the guy took this classified top secret information. He took it to a reporter. Okay. The reporter is not going to have any sort of understanding when it comes to a lot of that stuff. You got to think the trove of information that was given out is, there's a lot of people in my position that couldn't even understand some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So who then interprets that? Okay. So everyone in the public then turns around and says, oh my gosh, the NSA or whoever was looking at everybody's emails and looking at everybody's phone calls. Well, that's bullcrap. That's not what we're doing. That's not what they're doing. I think maybe what was it, like 0.0007% or something like that is even looked at or whatever. And also too, don't get butthurt about it. Think about this. Wouldn't you rather us have a really good surveillance apparatus, a way to keep an eye on the people and the places that we need to keep an eye on? How many times have you seen it in the news where it says, they got it ahead of time, mm-hmm. and they arrested the people? How many times have we heard that? And we just kind of slough it off as like, oh, well, you know what? That's just what we're used to. Yeah. Well, okay. That's, we can't do that without surveillance. It's just not possible.
Yeah, it's almost like it didn't happen. It doesn't register in the public consciousness if it's completely averted. People do take it for granted, and that's a great point. The only reason we're able to do that is because they do have these type of surveillance procedures, in the books. So, all right, well, Methods, going to you. Coming from the perspective of the Q posts, what can you tell us about how Edward Snowden has been characterized or, eventually revealed to be?
Well, just like you said at the beginning of this, I in the beginning was like, oh, this Edward Snowden guy, great. Somebody did something. Mm-hmm. We all kind of saw these things happening with Obama and whatnot, but as things progressed and, the Hollywood movies came out and all those things happened, I was like, okay, well, maybe there's even more to this, which is sad to think. And, sometimes you kind of put that in the back of your head. Yeah. So with our favorite Anon showing up and doing what he does, he or she, bringing up Snowden rather, off the rip, the first thought I had was, the 16-year plan to destroy America. Yeah. Snowden was named in the Obama 8 years. He said Snowden open source on Q570. Snowden open source Prism /Keyscore, catastrophic to U.S. military versus bad actors worldwide, clown / no such agency. So if we want to accept the fact that, he wasn't just an NSA, whistleblower, do-good person that saw some stuff and was like, I need to do something and be a hero, or, my life doesn't mean anything, I need to do something for, my fellow man. This was an operation. This was a clown op. This was something that was intended to get these things out there. And if you want to use that U.S. military versus bad actors worldwide plus clowns, then this was meant to cripple, for lack of a better word, what was being built for America to be able to stand their ground. Right.
Catastrophic harm, it says.
Right. And then, you go to Q836. Snowden essentially is pointing out that he was a controlled opposition. Mission 1, infiltrate. Mission 2, centralize. Mission 3, secure. Mission 4, exposed to harm. And what better way than on a global scale? We all heard about it. Even people not paying attention saw what was happening with Snowden, and they made sure by making a Hollywood movie that Snowden did what he did to get this information out there. And all we were supposed to be upset about was that we're all being listened to and tracked. But you have to think about the implications of those programs. So you have to think about having those in other people's hands and back doors in other countries. And that makes me think of Five Eyes. That makes me think of having the capabilities that we were supposed to have as, the number one superpower. It was just handed over, and okay, we have a patsy named Snowden that wanted to be that way.
Well, based on how many times Q has referenced Snowden, and I think that in the beginning, it wasn't clear to me whether or not Edward Snowden was a good guy or not. But like over time, I feel like it has been completely revealed exactly how much of a bad guy he is. Like you just referenced in 836, Mission 1, infiltrate. Mission 2, centralize. Mission 3, secure. Mission 4, expose to harm. I don't think it can be much more plain than that.
Right. And if you want to go ahead and jump ahead, when you say in the beginning we weren't quite sure where Q was going with this, Q 2993. Snowden, why did @Snowden only engage and attack the NSA? If Snowden really cared about privacy / citizenship awareness, why didn't he expose the clown or CIA main programs? And that post goes on to name everything that that Snowden would have been privy to. Why was it only the NSA?
Right.
And that's when you look back in hindsight, it's like, he could have really done way more damage than he did, and it seemed like a focus.
Definitely. And even going back to 536, it said clowns minus no such agency, clearly setting the NSA apart from the rest of the intelligence community. Was there anything else from the post that really stood out to you that you wanted to bring our minds back to?
Well, I definitely want to point out that, Snowden, he had traveled around and he didn't get, to his, end destination when he was putting out this information. Q874, how did @Snowden clear customs / immigration in Hong Kong after the public release? Why wouldn't he first travel to final destination prior to public release? If wanted by the U.S. government, would he be cleared to travel? Well, if the black hats of the government wanted him to do this, he would be cleared to travel. Yeah. And I find it very suspicious that he was in Hong Kong when we all know what we're dealing with China.
Exactly. All right. Well, if I think that the point here is fairly clear. Snowden was a bad actor, and when it comes down to it, the information that he released was designed to specifically damage the ability of the NSA to target actual bad guys. And they framed it, the entire argument, as if all the NSA was doing was just listening to you, me, and your mom talking about banal things, about yoga and going to pizza restaurants. But it wasn't that. They were actually going after real bad people, and the fact that he released this stuff, it harmed our ability to do so. All right, guys. Well, Oh, go ahead.
I
Go
can
ahead.
say one more thing before you go. I actually have my own personal theory about that. I actually think that the Q team works with the NSA. To be quite honest, and that they share resources. So there's a reason why it would have rubbed the Q team the wrong way, in my opinion.
I completely agree with you. Methods, you want to tag on that?
No, I'm in complete agreement.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this special segment, and I hope that you both have a wonderful evening.
Take care, man. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, guys, I hope that clears up any questions that anyone might have had about why I was characterizing Ed Snowden and his mission in the way that I was. I guess that's all that I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.